Welcome to Something to Talk About. Here we are, King's Restaurant in Tamuning, and I think I'm going to enjoy this conversation. I liked him from the moment I saw him, just face to face. Dr. Bob Hildreth.
Yes.
Hildreth is here. He is a new veterinarian to Guam, that is.
2 years.
Then you've been a veterinarian for how long?
For 25 years.
Oh,
I've
wow.
worked 40 years since I was 14 years old working in veterinary clinics.
Really?
Yep.
Is that was that a family thing, or is it?
No, actually my mom was a hospital administrator for a human hospital and my dad was a CPA.
Oh, well then,
So-
for human numbers. Well, I've heard of him a couple of years ago when he first came to Guam. He's not the regular vet that you see on Guam. You're a traveling vet. Is that what you got? Is it a mobile unit that you run?
It's a mobile practice.
Yeah.
So we basically provide services that would be the equivalent of an outpatient services for a regular brick and mortar veterinary clinic. So we do everything from puppy checks and vaccinations all the way up to doing blood work. We have portable x-ray. We even did blood transfusions on the dog the other day. So we try to do everything that's outpatient. We can do a little bit of light surgery for like skin mass removals and laceration repairs. Any major surgeries, because we can't do those, quite frankly, on the dining room table in somebody's house.
Right.
We have to refer those on for spays, neuters,
Okay.
abdominal exploratories, and things like that.
Well, let's back up, because now that we've established what this is all going to be about, because it is a very unique service to Guam, let's just go backwards and find out, why are you here?
Why am I
Why
here
are
on
you-
Guam?
Yeah, what's the story about coming to Guam?
The short story is, as you get older in life, and you hang out with friends that are maybe a little older than you are, you start asking them questions, hey, how are you doing? And that normally is a question where people say, yeah, I went to the movies, I went to this and that. As you get older, they start to give you their medical history of how many times they've been to the doctor in the last month.
Yeah.
And my wife and I saw that as the writing on the wall. And we always dreamed of retiring eventually to a tropical community. And we had been married in Hawaii. And so we thought
But where were you living in California?
in Southern California, in
Where
Temecula.
in just
Temecula.
Okay.
And so we thought that we would eventually retire, and we were thinking that's age 65, but as we saw our friends who were 65 having health problems, we said we should really push this up a little bit. And California, quite frankly, isn't what it used to be. I've been there for 50 years, so it was something where you could see some obvious changes there. So we looked at Hawaii. A friend of ours saw an ad and said, hey, you should check out Guam. My uncle and my cousin were both military and were stationed here. And they said, you should really go check out Guam. You're going to love it. So came here, interviewed back in Hawaii, where my wife and I got married in Kona. And we decided to come to Guam. And the real reason why we came here was the people. The people here are phenomenal.
This was sight unseen? You said you really should check out Guam, or you came first and just to scope it out?
I came here for a month-long interview.
Okay.
And my wife came about 2.5 weeks into that interview and stayed here, and we got toured around the island by some of the local staff we were working with. We had, quite frankly, an epiphany down in Mauricio, so much to the fact that at age 53 I did a cannonball off the end of the pier.
Did you?
So it was a lot of fun, and again, the people, the warmth, the hospitality of the people here in Guam is unmatched in any place I've ever traveled in the world. I've been all over Europe, I've been all over the United States, Mexico, things like that, and the warmth of the people here is just terrific. It's like, wow. This is the way life's supposed to be.
Well, I think part of that is you're also very approachable. I mean, when I was coming down the escalator at the time that I saw you at the outrigger, you were standing with Dr. Poole, and I went up. I'm like, "Are you the traveling, veterinarian?" You said, "Yeah." And I said, "I've been hunting for you," but you have a very friendly demeanor. So I think that's also, part of it. We'll take the credit for the hospitality for sure, but it does work both ways, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And again, you'd be on the beach when I was first here, and walking down the beach, you'd meet somebody, and within 10, 15 minutes, you're having lunch with their family.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
they don't take, and the people were not taking no for an answer.
Yeah.
It was like, no, you're joining our family.
Yeah.
You're here, because at first I was here alone.
Were they barbecuing on the beach? Kind
Always,
of thing? Oh, yeah.
always.
That's really.
Yeah, and
that
pretty
is the
soon
way.
you've got a drink in your hand, you got food in front of you, and it was like, wow, this is like nothing I've experienced. Especially California is not like that anymore. It used to be. It's not.
Yeah.
Everybody's afraid of each other there.
Wow. Well, you've come to Guam at a really cool time anyway, so that's part of it. Let's talk about first of all, what does your wife do?
My wife was a former corporate banker. She left corporate banking to join our house call veterinary practice that we had back in California. When we sold our initial brick and mortar and became a house call practice back in our neighborhood, we were commuting about an hour and a half into work.
Hey.
And in LA traffic, you
Yeah.
can just see that gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
So we started the house call practice, and that took off very quickly and was very successful, and we really enjoyed it because you get a chance to meet the patients and the clients in a home relaxed environment. The patients are much happier, they're much more relaxed. I think you find out more information about the patient and about the overall environment in which they live in. And I think people are more comfortable asking questions in their home environment. And again, I think you develop a closer relationship with people. And that's important in veterinary medicine, to have trust with your doctor, to understand, what they do. And there are things that we pick up on in that home environment that I think in an office you would not.
And again, it's a unique service. And the service is really what? You have a unit, a van or something? Is that?
We have a Jeep that we've stocked out that has a full pharmacy and all the equipment to do everything that we need to do as an outpatient, everything from fluids to doing blood work to doing x-rays, vaccinations, deworming, doing all of that stuff on site for the most part. There are a few things like blood work. We have the same blood work machines as all the other veterinary hospitals here on island. Those are not designed to go on the road, so those have to stay at the home office. So like blood panels, like full blood panels, CBCs, chem panels, we have to wait to do those at the end of the day.
Ah, okay.
But
do you have like an actual clinic that you operate?
No, it's a home office. Yeah, so we
Wow.
don't have a place. So everything is pretty much done in front of the owners as well. So when we draw blood, owners are standing right there. We're not taking the animal into a back room.
Yeah.
People see us do everything for their pet right there in front of them.
Why does that sound expensive?
It isn't, actually. The prices are essentially the same as the other hospitals here on island. We're very competitive as far as that goes. And because we don't have the overhead of these other hospitals. It's my wife and I working together. We don't have 15 employees. We don't have to pay rent,
Yeah.
electricity, pay more in gas, obviously.
Sure.
Right? There's a car payment, but everything else allows us to keep the prices reasonable. And the big limitation on a house call practice is that you can't see 10 patients at once.
Yeah.
You can only be one place at one time. So you have to kind of schedule your appointments in a pattern
Yeah.
that makes sense, so that you're not going, from
One end to the
Jigo
other,
to
yeah.
Agana, back up to Jigo
Sure,
to Barragata to
Right.
Agate. So we have to kind of make a round. And I think people are catching on to that and are pretty cooperative with that. So it makes us more efficient. So we can see as many as, on average, we see about 8 to 10 patients a day. We've seen as many as 22 in a single day, which was
I gotta
crazy.
ask you, who's taking the service?
Uh,
Who's asking for the service? Who are your clients? Not the animals, but the people.
All walks of life. It's very interesting. I think our youngest clients are probably 18 to 19 years old, and our oldest clients are well into their 70s.
Yeah.
It's people who work out of the home. It's people who have a day off. It's military. It's wives. It's a whole mixture of
Wow.
people. It's not. You would think that you would be like one economic group, and it's really not. It's spread across the whole spectrum.
So when you came here, you recognized there was definitely a need for this. I mean, because you had to scope out what the attitude of the people was,
Sure.
right? Yeah.
Sure, and when we started this business, we didn't know. Back home in California, there are several house call practices in the LA area, so we knew that model back in LA would work. We weren't quite sure whether it would
look,
work here.
you serve
Here
your
we go.
food
Cool,
service.
fantastic. Here
I
we
know,
go.
isn't that great?
Meat and protein.
So
So coming here, it was a bit of a challenge, a bit of a risk. One of those.
because you would have had to talk to competitors to find out if there was a market, or you just had to put your feelers out just by meeting people around?
Meeting people, and of course I had worked with some of these other veterinary hospitals in the 2 years I'd been here before starting the veterinary clinic, the house call practice. So I kind of got a feel for where people were at, what type of services they were looking for. And the big thing I think here in Guam is that people are really thirsty for knowledge about their pets. They want to be educated about their pets. And quite frankly, from my perspective, it makes them a better owner because they're better informed and they can make those decisions make better decisions about the health care of their pet. we're here to support them in whatever those decisions are, but knowledge is power. And we like to sit and talk with people and go through the different things of these are your different options. You know, we can run blood work, we can not run blood work. Where are your resources best applied to get the most bang for your buck for your pet?
Well, we're going to have to take a break, but when we come back, I actually want to talk to you about the attitude toward just animals on Guam. We have a big stray issue, and I'm pretty sure that you know so much about it. We'll get into that part of it and some of the government programs, GAIN, and other issues. And then I want you to try some of this food, because you said that you never had Tenala Cutney, which is that, and you've never had the Kelaguen, right? And you've never had Finadeni, but you've had like red rice and party food. Okay, I don't know if he's ever had fruit.
I've had a lot of stuff I didn't know what it was, and it was all really good.
Okay, well then we'll take
I look forward to this.
We'll have a little taste test. We'll be right back with something to talk about. Welcome back to Something to Talk About. I'm actually having a lot of fun with Dr. Bob, because I found out that in the couple years you've been here, these are some of the food items that you hadn't ever tried. Okay, so this is, if you can see it, this is Tenala Cutney. This is like a dried beef. It's smoked beef, actually.
Cool.
So you want to go ahead and put it on your plate, and I'm going to give you. So you know what? Go ahead. You want
I'll take a small piece.
I would use my fingers, but I don't know how you doctors like people sticking their
you know
dirty
what?
fingers in
You don't
your
want to know
food.
where my fingers have been.
Yeah, well, you're probably right about that. So do you like onions? Or are you cool with onions?
No, onions are good.
Okay, just put that down.
Okay, here we go.
So that
Tell me how to do this, Patty.
Just pick it up.
Oh,
Pick
here
up
we
and
go.
eat it with your fingers.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
you
there we
have to
go.
get that onion. See, you did it just like that. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Isn't it? You want it, and that we normally eat it like
That's
with
got a
that.
little kick to it.
It does. Is it too hot for you?
No, it's
oh,
good.
okay. And then that's tatitas. You want to try that? It's just like it's like a tortilla, but it's sweet and it's floury. It's different than the Mexican tortilla, but
Much better. Wow.
oh yeah, it's gotta cook. It's nice. Okay, you want to try the that's Kelaguen.
This is a food show now.
Yeah, it is. We went from that. Well, it's still animal. It's still within the scope.
Hopefully this is not where my patients end up.
Oh gosh, I know. Do you have like that? Is there like a passion of some sort about that?
As far as,
I don't know, eating meat.
I like meat. I like meat a lot.
I'm glad you didn't defend that. You have to be in a position to be like that. There are some people who get like it's a whole thing. All right. Is that good? You like that?
Vegetarian's probably a healthier lifestyle, but
Speaking of,
barbecue is too good to pass up.
speaking of, you were like a big guy before. I just found that out today. You're like, wait a minute. So what? You tell me what happened.
A lot of stress, a lot of work, and gaining a lot of weight. I married a French-Italian woman who is a great cook.
Oh,
and,
I love her already.
So gained a lot of weight just driving around and going through the stress of doing the house call practice and things like that. And at one time I was just under 350 pounds.
My.
So
Well, you don't look like that at all now.
thank God, no.
Yeah. What did you do?
Lots of diabetes, lots of blood pressure issues and things like that. I finally committed to weight loss surgery.
Wow.
And had the full-on bypass, which in the course of about 6 months, I lost about 140 pounds.
Oh.
It was pretty amazing, life-changing type thing. And,
Totally different feeling. Like
and all meds gone, and the amount of energy levels and everything else that comes with it. No more cholesterol medication, no more diabetes medication, no more blood pressure medication.
That's
everything
amazing.
life-changing.
Yeah.
And now it's something where you go to eat and you can still eat a lot of the same things, but you just don't eat the proportions.
Yeah.
Because
So
you
you
get
wouldn't
satisfied.
like polish it all off. Yeah.
This is enough food here on the table to last me probably 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you just don't take
But
into
you're
account.
not depriving yourself of anything.
Not
you
at
can
all.
try
Still
it all.
get a bite of cheesecake.
Yeah.
Still have a little bit of ice cream every
Yeah.
night. All those kind of things. So
Yeah.
it's a great procedure, and it's something that again it solves a lot of your medical problems.
Yeah. Well, talk to me. I said that before the break that we were going to have that conversation about people's attitudes. I mean, I don't think that there's a place in the world that doesn't have some sort of stray animal population.
Correct.
And even in a place as advanced and liberal as California might be toward these kind, there is a lot
of problems in Southern California. And of course you add rabies to it and everything else, so that makes it even worse.
It's not rabies free?
It's not rabies free at all.
Oh my.
You have the Mexican border there, so there are dogs always coming across the border that you're always concerned about. There's a lot of bats and everything that can carry rabies, skunks, raccoons. The problem there, though, if you look at proportionally the numbers of shelters and the resources the shelters have versus here on Guam is tremendously different. I did some work with one of the major shelters there that was an award-winning shelter, and their budget was in the tens of millions of dollars.
My.
And my understanding here in Guam is that the budget here is much, small percentage of that.
Yeah.
And the problem is much larger.
Yeah.
By comparison to, you have a larger problem with less budget.
Yeah.
And as we all know, anytime you have money always helps. Doesn't solve everything, but boy, it sure does help. And so here on Guam, we have a lot of stray dogs. Those dogs unfortunately act as a reservoir for diseases like heartworm and tick disease. And so they do affect the domestic dog population. And it's very important to have your dogs on preventions, because the dogs out there, we see a fair number of stray dogs that people are rescuing that they find, their heart goes out to the neighborhood dog that's been there for, they've been feeding it for a while and they see the dog's getting worse. We get a call, we go in and we find out that it has tick disease, heartworm, hookworm, all sorts of other diseases. And a lot of these things are fixable, and a lot of them are preventable. So that for the domestic dog population, dogs have to be on prevention and they can avoid a lot of those diseases. But we see quite a bit of parvovirus here in the puppies.
Oh gosh.
From lack of vaccination. And I still run across people occasionally that think that only a single vaccine is protective, and it's not. It's a series of vaccinations in puppies. You got to get at least 2, preferably 3 in the puppies to help them prevent it. And parvovirus, unfortunately, is a virus that survives for a year in the environment. So with all the stray dogs and all the stray puppies on island, we have to kind of assume that the entire environment on Guam is infected. So we have a 3-rule policy for puppies. You keep them indoors until they're fully vaccinated. They get 3 sets of vaccines 3 weeks apart. And because it's Guam, you get to feed them all you want.
Yeah. And the problem here, has been we don't have spay and neuter affordable, or that not necessarily affordable as much as it is that we've got more dogs than we have people who will want to pay for that.
And I came here with the idea, we'll just spay and neuter everything. When I first arrived here, I was very naive. And I should say, another veterinarian pointed out the math to me.
Yeah.
If you did 20 spays per day for the next 5 years, you would get through a certain number of dogs. The problem is that the dogs that are left are still repopulating the island.
Yeah.
So you're not going to make a dent. This isn't something we can spay and neuter our way out of. And amongst the veterinary community here, we talk about it a lot, about what are the solutions for it. And I've had some conversations with Kane, some conversations with animal control and things like that. There's not a lot of good answers. There has to be kind of an attitude change towards being more proactive about spaying and neutering all the animals here, and really kind of getting a hold of the females. And there's a couple things that we're thinking about and trying to propose. But again, it all starts with money. An average spay is $100. If you don't take the veterinarian's time in, you're looking at $75 to $100 worth of tech time, anesthesia, drugs, pain medications, surgical packs, all that kind of stuff. So it's not something that is cheap. Surgery's not cheap. You can't, an ovarian hysterectomy on a person is, thousands of dollars.
I think that's what Dr. Tom Poole said. It was, we have to round up that's always been his thing. We have to round up the females and we've got to, get them fixed. But there has never been the funding. Now, I understand from the Department of Agriculture that they're going for a grant through the Department of Interior because apparently the animal stray population is considered invasive species. It's a category that will allow for some grant funding. I don't know if it's a drop in the bucket funding, but it sounds, and all of it will be dedicated to spay and neutering. But you said that that's not the answer.
Well,
what is the answer?
Well, the answer is to stop the animals from reproducing. However you can get that done. There is a drug that came on market a few years ago about neutering male dogs with an injection, that you're actually injecting their testicles, and you can make them actually reproductive at that point. But you have to capture the animals. You have to have the resources to capture them. You have to have the resources and the space to go and spay and neuter them. You have to have the manpower to do that. And
We have
that'll
3 people, I think, animal control officers,
yeah.
if there's that.
Yeah, and that's just not enough
Yeah.
for the population here. And again, if people start to take the attitude towards spaying and neutering, I think that it can change the things here.
But they'd only be spaying and neutering the animals that are around them. I mean, the population is so huge. I mean, you've gone
Right.
to some of the boonies
yeah.
out in
All the time.
across the street, and there's a pack of dogs that came out of nowhere.
I have dogs up and down my street up in Jigo, probably 15, 20 dogs. And you try to capture them and you can't get a hold of them. You can't get close because they know.
They're smart, aren't they? Aren't
They
these
are
boonie
very
dogs?
smart.
Do you find them to be smarter than some of the pedigreed?
I find them to be very smart. I found them to be very disease resilient. They can have tons of things wrong with them and they would still be doing really well. They're generally friendly if you can get close enough to start feeding them.
Yeah.
But ultimately you're going to have to set up traps. And there are a couple of ideas that we have for maybe doing that. The big thing is getting manpower to be able to address spaying these dogs en masse. And it's got to be a consistent effort over and over and over
So
again.
capturing the animal, you're talking about like a massive effort to capture these
You
animals.
could set up a cage kind of setup where you feed animals in a neighborhood, with maybe some cyclone fencing, right? Start feeding the animals and then have basically a door on a rope that on Friday
But don't
morning.
they get that after the first time?
Well, if
they're
you
that smart?
but they're
Yeah.
captured at that point, hopefully.
I see what you're saying.
But you get them the confidence
Yeah.
to go in and out of the trap like we would do with any wild animal, where you put them into it, where they go in and out, in and out, in and out, and they're like, oh, I'm getting food, nothing bad's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can close the door with a distant rope from a distance, and you might be able to then trap up more of the animals. But then you have to have the manpower to spay and neuter them.
Yeah.
If you have 30,000 dogs that need spaying on island, which is what I heard recently was the perspective, that's a lot of space.
Do you have any pets at home?
Yeah, I
What
do.
do you got?
I've got Pomeranians.
Pomeranians.
Yeah,
Oh, how
teacup
cute.
Pomeranians. Yeah, they're adorable.
Yeah.
They're nice.
So- but
they're
whatever-
small. They sleep like here.
I would be sneezing. But whenever we talk about veterinary medicine on Guam, it's usually dogs. Is it? I mean, it's not.
Surprisingly, there's a large number of cats, and I would say that our practice, because we're house call, because cats get pretty stressed going into
yeah.
veterinary clinics.
Yeah.
We see probably 25% of our patients are cats.
Wow. Well, listen, I've learned a lot, and we've already done a whole show. Can you believe it?
Wow, that
I
was
told
quick.
I told you it was going
That
to be
went
fast.
really fast.
I know. We didn't even make a dent in
Well,
the
I'm
food,
gonna
but we're doing that.
I'm gonna hang out and eat
All
some.
right, I'm
This
going
is
to hang
really
out
good.
with you. Thanks a lot, Dr. Bob. It was really
Thank you
nice to talk to you.
thank you very
Great
much,
to meet
Patty.
you. All
Thank
right,
you.
that does it for something to talk about. We'll see you next time.